Fabian Hurzeler got Pauli promoted last season using this tactic. But who is Fabian Hurzeler? He is a German professional manager, former football player, but not at a high level. I say that he is German, but in the same time he is American and Swiss. He was born in Houston to a Swiss father and a German mother, and his parents were temporarily working in the US, where he spent the first few years of his life before moving back to Europe. Before managing Pauli, he was FC Pippin's lead manager in the lower leagues of German football. In 2018, he also took on a job as assistant manager in charge of the Germany U20s and Germany U18s. Emre Can, Fabian Hürzeler's former Bayern Munich second teammate, predicted a great career as a coach for the German-American manager. In 2020, he was appointed the assistant manager of Timo Schulz at the Hamburg-based club FC Pauli. The two worked together until December 2022, when Timo Schulz was dismissed and Fabian Hurzeler was appointed interim manager at the club. But this role became permanent 2 weeks later, and since then he managed to shape the Pauli team into his image using his own principles. Keeping possession of the ball, harrying the opponents after the possession was lost, and airtight defending. And this style of play worked. FC Pauli got promoted to the Bundesliga the season that just ended, finishing first in the league. And on June 15, 2024, Fabian Hurzeler agreed on a contract to become the manager of Brighton and Hove Albion in the Premier League, thus becoming the youngest ever manager in the Premier League. His tactical setup is not a complex one, but the players need to adjust to it as it requires them getting out of their comfort zone and it is very physical demanding. In a way, his tactical setup and philosophy resemble the one of Thiago Motta in the sense that he does not ask his players to stay glued to one position or area on the pitch. If a defender can become a midfielder or a striker or vice versa, Fabian Hurzeler encourages it. This style of play helps maintaining possession and creating goal-scoring opportunities as the players are not restricted by their designated positions. What Fabian Hurzeler requires from his players, though, is to become compact in defense. The tactical formation most often used by Pauli was 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1. This formation allows for intricate passes and free-flowing football when in possession. Of course, a sweeper keeper on attack duty in goal, as the goalkeeper is an integral part of the possession game. The back three is made of 2 wide center-backs on defend and 1 ball-playing defender on defend duty. I noticed that at times, Pauli has defended with 2 center-backs when in possession, one of them stepping into the midfield area. 2 wingbacks on support on the flanks. They are required to provide the width of the tactic and help their teammates up the field in attack. When out of possession, they are expected to be rigid and to try to recover the ball as fast as possible or at least get into the face of their opponents. Stay wider as player instructions for them. 1 segundo volante and 1 defensive midfielder on support duty. The segundo volante is required to go further in possession, helping the passing game in the midfield area. The defensive midfielder could also be an anchor or a halfback, but since we are focusing on maintaining the possession of the ball, this role must have ball-playing duties as well. Get further forward for both as player instructions. 2 wingers on support and 1 advanced forward make up the rest of the formation. The wingers are required to provide width to the attack, keeping their fullbacks counterparts occupied, while the striker must move into channels, finding the best areas to attack and score from, close down more often for him, as he must be the first pressing player after the ball was lost in the final third. The rest of the players, besides the striker, ball-playing defender and goalkeeper, are required to mark tighter. As mentioned earlier, Fabian Hurzeler requires his players to harry their opponents and not give them time on the ball. His mentality, positive. Attacking works also if you are the best team in the game. In possession, fairly wide, play out of defense, shorter passing directness and a slightly lower tempo. Mixed crosses and play for set pieces. A possession-based setup. In transition, counter-press, counter and distribute the ball to the defense through short kicks. Out of possession, a mid-block and a lower defensive line are used. Pauli defended very well last season, and this was mainly due to the tight and compact structure. The team is required to try to recover the ball as fast as possible, and if not possible, to regroup around the halfway line and start the pressing game from there. If this fails, then the players settle into the defensive positions and crowd the defensive area, giving as little space as possible to the opponents to attack or run into. Trigger press slightly less and trap outside. In my game, trying my hand at an Athletic Bilbao save, we finished 3rd in La Liga using this tactic, which is an indication that this tactic can work at a high level also, against tougher opposition than the real-life Pauli had so far. Fabian Hurzeler may be the youngest Premier League manager and may have not had a great playing career. But the glimpses we see now may be the sparks igniting one of the best managerial careers so far.